All right, so let's just jump right into it. So today I'm very lucky. I have Ashley and Jason Netton from Ashley's Canine Solutions. And they've been working with me for a couple months now, and they're going to share their experience about working with me. So guys, why don't you just kick it off and tell me a little bit about, how you guys got started in dog training?
Well, I started when I was 12 years old. I was mentored in somebody in my state, and I just got the bug at 12 years old, and I just had been training people and just family members and stuff like that ever since. About 4, maybe 5 years ago, I actually decided I was going to try to pursue this as a profession. And I took a class, I got my degree, my certification, and then I started working in an agility course for about a year. Then I decided, you know what, I want to actually start my own business. So 4 years ago, I actually opened up my own business, Ashley's Canine Solutions. It actually started at a different name, The Lowdown on Dogs.
Oh, cool.
But it actually read more like an online documentary or whatever blog type thing. So it didn't really kick off with that name too well. Okay. So I renamed it Ashley's Canine Solutions, got better results for dog training possibilities, but still wasn't able to get the amount of people that I was able to when I started, working with you and stuff like that. Google ads, I mean, it was very hit or miss. Facebook ads, it was very hit or miss. I just didn't know what I was doing and how to do it. And I wasn't getting the right audience. And the clients that I was getting were very, wishy-washy because, I wasn't charging as much back then either.
Yeah.
I think the most I was charging was like, what, $30 an hour or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how your business evolves over the years, and stuff that like you would tolerate back then and do then that you just would never do today,
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about that. So I didn't realize, so you guys were previously doing paid advertising. Is that right? You were doing Google ads and Facebook ads, stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, for a while there, I was going by the referrals of the agility course.
Yep.
But she was misrepresenting me. Okay. She, unfortunately, and I have nothing against her. I love the woman, but unfortunately her agility course was very positive only. So I was like the little best kept secret that they kept in the background when I was able to help dogs with the tools and the techniques that I used, which were non-positive only. I was balanced. They couldn't actually tell people that I was that if they wanted me to stay working for them.
Right.
So it just basically didn't work out really. I never got the clients that I really felt I meshed with because those were the clients that were looking for positive only techniques and I was being held back.
Yeah.
So I could never really go very far with that. And I think that's also a reason why they didn't really stay as clients. After that, finally came to the point where we were not meshing as an owner and a business partner, so to speak.
Right.
So I said, I got to go my separate ways here. And that's when I opened up my own business.
Right.
And I still use the referrals that I got from my agility course to kind of placate a little bit and help to get more reviews for the new business. But it still wasn't enough, Then I started I made business cards. I sent them to lots of places like my vet, a couple of restaurants, things like that in the local area. And then I used a lot of my other clients as referrals for like reviews and everything.
Right.
And I mean, it just was a very, very long process. I couldn't really put much on Google ads anyway because I was still just starting out.
Yep.
And I would easily tank about $300 a month into Google ads and get nowhere because I was in competition with such big franchises and there was just no way to get the keywords that I needed,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is like, I always tell everybody that anyone who's skeptical, right? And it's like, just like there's people in the dog training world who really know what they're doing, there's going to be people who don't know what they're doing. And then, like I can watch a couple of YouTube videos and, pick up a couple tricks, tips or tricks here or there to learn how to train my dog, but that doesn't make me a dog trainer. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing in digital marketing. It's like, you have to really devote yourself to something to really understand how to do it well. And I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate to that with dog training. You know, if you're just kind of half in and like, oh, I'll consider it, it's never going to really work. But, you know, I'm sure you guys can see now what the power of it really looks like, you know, because, you know, we were talking about yesterday, Jason, like you guys are kind of in a position now where you're kind of like, we almost need to, you do need to scale back, right? Because it's like the demand is so high now. Yeah. So, yeah. So why don't you guys just tell me what was it exactly that, you know, I know we got connected through Sarah, but, you know, what was it exactly? Like, why did you guys decide to kind of think to yourselves like, okay, we should start going down this path of paid advertising?
Well, I originally tried doing the advertising myself. I originally took an online course on Facebook advertising. And I was dabbling into Google metrics and analytics and all that. But if you really want to scale, you got to replace yourself. You can't be doing it all. So we were at the point where we were revamping the business and we were implementing a strategy that would profit for us and then benefit the client as well. We were doing board and trains. We lost money on every single board and train that we ever had. And we talked about that yesterday. But she was very, very convinced that you needed to do board and trains in order to make money because there was a lot of things that we tried before. Like we had tried this online course about Facebook marketing, and then there was selling along with it, and it was for dog trainers. But the Facebook marketing aspect of it was found to be a little lacking. And the way you're supposed to do it, you're supposed to go into local groups like town forums, and you were supposed to post that you're creating a free dog training group. And then you were supposed to get your clients from there. You were supposed to prospect. You were supposed to continuously post content and bring value, and then people would want to sign up. And we got a couple people from that. And we got a couple of long-lasting clients from that. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but with the volume that we have now, it's night and day. So we were at the point where we had taken the ideas about networking, and we had taken the ideas about the selling techniques, and we sort of cherry picked through it, and we created what worked for us. So I think that's one of the most important things. Like sometimes they want you to follow it to a T, but if you can't follow it to a T, if it doesn't feel right, or if it doesn't produce the results you're looking for, try something new. You don't want to be spinning your wheels. And it's the same with dog training. We always tell people, if you're butting heads with your dog, you always got to switch it up. You can't be just doing brute force with brute force. You have to find a way around it through their mind. So I'm constantly applying that to my own life, and I'm constantly saying that we need to think of a different way to do this. And we had toyed around with the idea of paid advertising, but she was burned. She was feeling very burned. And I was spending forever doing Facebook ads, and we had gotten some results, but most of them were just tire kickers. They weren't really targeted because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Exactly.
And at that point, we had enough money where we were just like, let's try someone who knows what they're doing. Because I explained to her that the whole purpose of this is to put $1 in and get 2 out.
Exactly.
So it is a machine, but you have to find the right machine for it. So we were very skeptical about getting results, but it blew us out. It blew our expectations out of the water. I have to say.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. I mean, and that's exactly right. It's, you know, you can try and do everything yourself, but, you know, at a certain point, you kind of need to remove yourself from certain processes and just, you know, if you feel confident in them, you know what I mean? If you feel confident in the person that you're partnering with to deliver good results to you, it can be such a blessing, because now all of a sudden you don't necessarily need to worry about that. And you can just focus on growing the business, working, on the business, not in the business. And that's a massive mistake that a lot of people make, is like, I'm going to try and save a couple dollars up front. But you end up missing out on a lot on the back end, because you're just doing everything yourself, Yeah. And when you're a business owner, it's like, being an entrepreneur is difficult enough. And then, add in trying to be the accountant, the marketer, the person who fulfills the services, the customer service rep, all that stuff, you have to offload some of it. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are, are doing that and moving in that direction. So yeah, so tell me a little bit more about like what your experience is like now. I said this before, you guys are even having to scale back now. What kind of happened that's led you to that?
What kind of happened is I was picking up the phone as fast as I was putting it back down.
Yeah.
I would hang up the phone, and then maybe 5 minutes later, another call would come in. Yep. And then I would see on the email from Unbounce that it was a lead. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. And most of them I can take right when they ring, but others I wait until they leave a voicemail, because I'm in clients. And whoever's watching this, you can't answer them all. It is impossible to answer them all right when they come in.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel better about the lead if they leave a voicemail, because you'll get leads that they call, and then on call rail, because they're recording the other side, you'll hear and it's like 2 seconds and they'll hang up. Yeah. It's like, all right, well, these people aren't that serious.
Right. Yeah. They're not good.
Yeah. So, and when I can actually answer it, these people, for the most part, I would say 90% of them are targeted, and 90% of them are motivated with what we ourselves are offering, and not just dog training in general.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the benefit of Google ads versus like other forms of marketing. And Facebook ads can be amazing. But even, the intent that Google ads has is really, really special, because, if you look at something like, billboard marketing, or even take Facebook ads, right? You're putting an offer, you're disrupting somebody's day with this offer, and it needs to be so good that they're like, I need to jump on this right now. With Google, it's very much so like, I need dog training. I know that. I'm searching for dog training. I read this person's website or the landing page, and this is a good fit for what I need. And now I'm going to contact them because of that. So it's a much more qualified lead. So it sounds like that's what you guys have found through this process too.
Absolutely. I used to think that it was the area, like that the demographics that we were trying to reach just was never going to give me a lucrative turnout. Okay. Yeah. I just thought we had to jump ship from the entire state and go elsewhere, because my methodology, my way of training and everything wasn't, wholly accepted here. Yeah. But you kind of helped to, change my view on that, because I'm seeing that there are more people out there willing and open to take our strategies to heart, rather than just do the positive only stuff. And it really is very refreshing.
Good. So that's amazing to hear. Yeah. This is something that I, preach to a lot of people too, that it's like, when it's very easy to have that, your mindset kind of turn into that when you have a very limited pool of people too. And if you're only getting 5-10 people a month that contact you, and a couple of them say to you, oh, we only want a positive only trainer, or you guys do balanced. But when you start getting a massive pool of people coming to you, and you're like, this person says no, I have 20 other people I can talk to, right? Like, what's the big deal? But it's like, when it's a smaller pool of people, it feels like the end of the world. But then you start realizing that it's like, there's a lot of people out there that are going to gravitate towards what your methodology is.
Yes. And that's really what helped me to be not so eager to jump ship and leave the state. Good.
Yeah.
I'm sticking around for a little bit.
Because it looks like a desert doesn't mean there's not water.
Exactly.
You have to know where to find it.
You have to know where to dig. You have to have somebody who knows where to dig, and that's where you come in.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that it's working out for you guys, because I remember when we first, started out, it was very much so like, you guys were very up and down too. Like, you'd have like a 20K month, right? And then the next month could be a 4K month. So this just really, the idea here was just to add the stability into your business, right? Yeah. And now what we're talking about doing is, okay, you are flooded with new leads. You have all this opportunity, but Jason and I were talking about this yesterday. Just instead of stopping it all together, just scaling it back a little bit, right? So to keep like at like a slower, but steady pace, because it's all about keeping the pipeline full, right? So what a lot of people do is, it's very easy when you're in the day-to-day of your own business and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, I can't keep up with any more work, to just be like, let's just shut it down, and you stop prospecting altogether. And then what happens is, it may not be today or tomorrow or 30 days, but sooner or later you wake up one morning and you're like, we're not on track to do a $15,000 month here. What happened, right? The phone's not ringing quite so much. And then you have to start that engine again. The good thing with paid advertising is you can start it much quicker, but at the end of the day, it's good to just kind of keep it full and flowing.
And to know that you were actually able to give Jason, who is my business part of it, the help and the advice not to completely cut it off altogether, but scale it back. It was very helpful, because it not only saved us stress from having to deal with so many people at once, but it also saved us stress in the long term, because we would, like you said, wake up one day and be like, wait a minute, we're back to square one.
Right, exactly. And of course it saves you money too, right? You don't have to put as much spend into the actual advertising dollars, which is always nice. That's a good problem to have.
And to know that you're so flexible about it was really helpful.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, my background is, as an entrepreneur, I've owned my own business. So I know what it's like pouring money into, advertising, and, having people that you work with that don't care about your bottom line, right? They don't look at your P&L with you. They don't care about any of that. It's just all about the revenue coming into them. And, for me, it's like, I want to make sure that you guys are profitable above all else. It's the only thing that matters to me, because if I'm not doing this for client results, I don't know what the hell I'm doing it for. You know what I mean? When something's going wrong with the client, it's the type of thing that keeps me up at night. So, for you guys to hear that you're just like absolutely crushing it, just, nothing makes me happier. So it sounds like you guys, I just want to kind of get back to a couple things here. So, actually, let's dive into this. So why don't you tell me the dynamic between the two of you guys, like as far as like how the business relationship functions?
I mean, I sort of explained it to you yesterday in a comical way, but I can say that again for the interview.
Please do. Yeah.
See, Ashley has 24 years of experience on this. I joined the business 2.5 years ago, April of 2019, just after I had basically decided that climbing 35-foot ladders with 90 pounds of equipment on me was not worth $18 an hour. So I figured like there's got to be better use of my time than this. So I was sort of finding out what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to be my own boss. I knew I wanted to do my own business, but I had no foundation. So I was quickly learning, and I quickly, through trial by fire, learned how to run and operate a business, because all Ashley wants to do is train. Ashley is a dog trainer. Ashley is not a business woman.
Damn good one at that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm blown away every single evaluation. It's like I learned something new each time. And I've been at this for 2.5 years. So I through just sitting in on evaluations, talking to clients, and then having Ashley talk to clients as well, I have learned enough to be my own dog trainer. But if I have that asset, then I might as well take it and run with it. So I don't want to go and do my own thing. I want to help, because she is my sister, and we want to be profitable together. We don't come from money at all. So we learn the ins and outs of business, and I handle almost everything else in exchange for not needing to train. So most of the time, unless it's an evaluation, I am in the car and I am outside of the client's house. I am taking phone calls. I am messaging people. I am scheduling people, which I do need to try and replace myself on the scheduling aspect. The one thing that I know I can't replace myself, unless I pay an astronomical amount of money for a salesperson, is the first contacts and the actual phone calls and in-person evaluations.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I needed. The thing is with Google ads and everything like that, you already need a great offer. You already need prior sales experience, because all it is it's going to drive more traffic to you.
Yeah.
You already need to be winning at the other aspects, or else it's not going to work.
Totally.
So if, let's just say a softball launcher, right, launches a softball every 90 seconds and you're able to catch it. If it launches 4 every second and you're only able to catch 1 out of 180, it's not going to do you any good.
Right.
You have to learn how to close. And we consistently, I looked the other day and I believe we've done 25 evaluations without a single no.
That's unbelievable. A lot of people are shooting for like a 30% conversion rate, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to dive, I'll let you keep going, but I want to jump into that in a second, because I think it's going to be very helpful for people out there to hear exactly how you guys do it. But go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. There's just a lot more to it. Yeah. People are under the impression that you can get Google ads and then you're automatically doing 4 times more revenue than you were before. But if you can't close the leads that are coming your way, it just means that your closure rate's going to be even worse.
Yeah, exactly. You know what the really interesting thing to me is, like, I talk to a lot of dog trainers and, you know, people prior to doing paid advertising, or, you know, it's not even just paid advertising, but it's like, it could just be leads coming off of Google from your Google My Business listing, right? Or even directly somebody searches you and finds you organically and then goes to your website, right? Like, these are people that are coming to you off of the internet, right? They're not a referral. So a lot of dog trainers, obviously, like, referrals can be the lifeblood of your business. And what we found is that, like, a lot of people are like, I have a 90% conversion rate, right? But it's a 90% conversion rate when you're getting a referral from, like, your, you know, the person's sister, right? Who, like, sold that person on how good of dog trainers you are. Hey, it's costs a lot of money, but it's worth every single dime. You know, there's not much selling involved in that. The sales is already largely done. So then they come to you and you're just kind of like hammering checks and you're like, I'm a great salesperson.
On a platter.
Yeah, it's on a platter. Yeah. So why don't you guys tell me, like, walk me through. So the phone call comes in, and Jason, since you're handling all these, like, why don't you tell me real quick, like, how do you handle that first initial contact?
Well, I actually give a crap about what they're saying.
Right.
So you have to listen way more than you speak.
Yep.
Someone has to know that you care enough about their problems before you try and sell them. Right. So the first thing I do is I listen. I ask one question, and it's an open-ended question. And I say, can you tell me a little bit about your situation? And they start going and they start saying and they start saying. And then I'm looking for pain points. I'm looking and I'm actively listening for the pain in their voice. I'm taking that all in because of the fact that I know how my approach needs to be. Yeah. Because some people, they need a soft hand, and then some people, whether or not they're worth closing, in my opinion, they need a firmer hand. Yeah. They need to be kind of knocked down a couple pegs where because I don't understand the logic in hiring a dog trainer and then questioning every move they make. Right. Because you saw something on YouTube. And it's like, we have it, not to brag or not to be arrogant, but why are you even here? Yeah. Why are we here with you? Yep. So we get some of those. And whether or not I feel that they are going to be a good client, I have to sort of feel it out. And you have to get good at that. Yeah. You also have to get good at being very sincere, because I am very sincere with how I speak and acknowledging their problems. And you bring that back up. You bring that back up when you start talking to them and you need to vet them. That's all it is. It's vetting, and then it's showing a little bit of what you know, so that they're warmed up and they know that you know what you're talking about.
Right.
And that gets them primed for the actual evaluation.
Yeah.
Depending on how much we have on the schedule, we can get them in a week.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's probably about 3 weeks. So they have to be okay with that first. We have to be completely transparent with that.
Yeah.
We have to basically say, like, look, you're not the only person here. If you think you are, then you're in the wrong place.
Yep.
So a lot of it is boundaries as well. And you're going to need a lot of boundaries as you scale.
Yeah.
As you start to progress in your business, you start to get to the point, like you said, where if you lose one, you still have 20 others to pick from.
Yeah.
And you come from a place of abundance rather than a place of scarcity, because we've been in both. We have been in scarcity for most of this business's life.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely terrifying to hear someone object or hear someone get snotty and threaten to go to the Better Business Bureau or something like that, because we wouldn't give them their money back because we're doing everything we're doing.
Right.
And now we can just say, okay, next.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so true. When you are like, you hit the nail on the head. It's like the scarcity versus abundance mindset, you know? Something really magical happens when you start realizing that, like, there is so much potential out there, and it's just up to me to go out and capture it. And it's not like you're not coming from the, you know, perspective of, again, like the scarcity of like, somebody's trying to take this from me. What happens if I lose this? My life's going to be over. I might lose my business. It's like, it doesn't need to be that way, you know? And that's operating from a place of fear, not a place of power. Right. And when you start operating from a place of power, you start getting on this, like, you know, positive feedback loop where things just get better and better and better, versus being the other way, stuck on the negative feedback loop, and like something bad happens and then you feel like no longer confident in your sales or your business. So then you're going into the next consultation or the next phone call with that mentality, and you're scared. And it's like, it's such a difficult place to be, and such a, you know, it can be very difficult to get out of there. But once you experience it the other way, it's just like a game changer. Go ahead, Ashley. What were you going to say?
I mean, it definitely gets you burnt out like so much faster, because you're like, well, first of all, you know, you're not a salesperson. Okay. So you know that your livelihood depends on making the sale, but yet you're not a salesperson. So it's like coming into it with the scarcity mindset. And knowing that you're not a great salesperson, it really is the final nail in the coffin, I guess you can say, to really make you just finally burn out. And I came into this, you were basically our last hope, so to speak, before I could full on even recover from the burnout. Okay. Like I am now recovered, and I am feeling so much better.
Good.
We finally worked it where Jason handles all the business stuff. I handle all the dog training. And I'll tell you right now, the fact that Jason did do the whole thing with the online stuff, you know, learning about that was a great help. It started everything off. Okay.
Totally.
You know, opening up the Facebook group, you know, telling them, hey, look, we're doing free advice and everything. And that was great. Don't get me wrong. But for me, that was not easy to do, because first of all, I wasn't doing board and trains. I couldn't. We're not zoned for it. Okay. So we couldn't even feasibly record very many people or very many dogs to give content for the Facebook group. Okay? It was just like, yeah, sure. Everyone says do a Facebook post a day or 2 times a day or something like that. I'm like, that's great and all, but I'm always out. I'm with clients like from 8 a.m. to like 8 p.m. Okay. I have no time to actually do a recording unless I'm in the car or do a recording of a client, because I mean, first of all, going to a client's house and recording things like that, it just, to me, it feels creepy. It's too difficult. It's like, it's not organic, you know? Exactly. It's not organic. It's very invasive. And, you know, sometimes I mean, I haven't yet ran into a client where they don't appreciate that.
Right.
But still, it's like, you just don't feel comfortable doing that. Like saying, hey, I'm coming in. Can I record you? It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't like doing that. And I honestly felt that I was running out of things to say because it just seemed like every post was just kind of blending into another.
Yep.
So for me, doing that free advice Facebook group and Jason learning the salesman technique, that was a great jump starter.
Yes.
But it still wasn't enough to get enough people coming in.
The volume you guys were looking for.
The volume was just not coming in.
Right.
So like you came along and you were like the perfect complement to all the stuff that Jason already knew.
100%.
Exactly. So you started opening up that the water to come in faster. Okay.
Yeah.
The floodgates, I guess you could say. And him with his knowledge already earned from that other program, it was just like that was it. That was the final thing that needed to happen, the magic pill, so to speak.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the other thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that, Jason, you hit on this before, and Ashley, you just touched on it now. Like there's like prerequisites to this, right? Like you need to know how to sell. You need to know how to organize your business. You need to know how to fulfill the services, of the dog training very well. Yeah. If you don't know how to sell, it doesn't matter how many leads you get, you could get 100 leads and then you don't close any of them. And you're like, oh, the leads are no good. It's like, well, it's not that they're no good. You just didn't warm them up enough. You didn't touch on enough of their pain points. You didn't position yourself as valuable enough where they feel like they would be missing out if they didn't work with you.
Right.
So why don't you guys tell me, when you go on a consultation, how exactly or an evaluation, how do you guys handle that? Like, what is that? How do you structure that?
So whether she knows it or not, regardless of how many times I tell her, she has a big hand in selling.
Yep.
More so than she thinks.
Yep.
I am there to structure it in a way where they can digest the information that we are giving them, and they know exactly what kind of value that they're getting for their money. So I sort of bridge the gap between what Ashley knows and the amount of money that they need to pay us to get it. So it's almost like an actual lesson when we are at an evaluation.
Yep.
There's no other word for it. It's verbal diarrhea with dog training.
Yeah.
And she just starts spouting off all this information, all this knowledge, and people are just blown away. Absolutely blown away. I cannot tell you how many times she has been called a dog whisperer.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can see that just by looking at him. Yeah. And I can start doing that now, but nowhere to the degree that she can.
Right.
And I just refer to her. I'm like, you might think she's had 24 years of experience or something.
Right. Exactly. It's almost like she's done this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then at the end of it, I go over the programs, and there's a piece of free advice here. Never say, now let's go over programs and pricing or something like that. You have to have a smooth transition, because if you have that abrupt stop and that abrupt change in course, they immediately go into defense mode.
Yeah.
Immediately. Yeah. Where okay, they're going to try and screw me over. I need to be on my best guard.
Yeah.
And
I'm being sold. Right now, it's like the time for the guy to sell me, right? And you don't want it to feel like that. You want it. So tell me exactly how do you transition into that?
Well, when they are there's a point where not in every evaluation, but I can usually pick it out where they are saying, how do we move forward, or something along that lines. And or how did you get good at this, and or how did you start the business, something along that line. And every time I like telling a story that I read on Facebook, actually, and it's worked wonders. It is about a submarine and a submarine captain. The submarine is not working. It does not run. The engine doesn't start. So they hire a mechanic. The mechanic comes in. He spends about an hour looking up and down, and then he doesn't touch a thing until he gets a hammer out of his tool pouch, and then he goes over to a wall, and then he knocks on the wall. The engine comes straight to life. So the captain, in this case, they would be the client. They say, well, that's amazing. How much do I owe you? And the captain, the mechanic goes, $20,000. And the captain is just taken aback. He's just like, what? You knocked on a wall. And the mechanic replies with, well, it's $20 for the hammer. Knowing where to knock is everything else.
Right.
So then I transition with, you pay us for the years of experience, not the hours of our work.
Right.
So then I immediately go into, we're not going to charge you $20,000 because I just mentioned $20,000.
Right, exactly. Set the bar very low now.
And I go, well, our training for life program, the most you'll ever spend with us is $4,000.
Yep.
And I give them a second to digest that. And I say, we start at the bottom with $1,000. And that is for 4 sessions. And I acknowledge, I straight up call them out because I know what's going on in their head. They're making a calculation and they're basically saying, well, if it's an hour a session, I'm paying you $250 an hour.
Exactly. Yep.
And I straight up call them out on that.
Yeah.
Because I know, because I've been there. I've been in the hot seat being sold or trying to be sold. And there are people that I've told to get the hell out of my house.
Right.
So at that point, I break it down because we don't just do the session for an hour, 2 hours, something like that, and then leave for 3 weeks, and you'll never hear from us in those 3 weeks. So we pad that with a video chat support that we do.
Right.
We use an app where it's like Snapchat. They can record live videos and they can send them to us. If we're there, we can watch it live. If not, it saves on a database for later. So anything that their dog is doing, any questions that they want to ask, they don't have to text me. They can just record the video and they can also record the behavior. Yeah. So it's almost like you're getting an online course with us as well as in person. So I immediately go in with, we're not going to leave you high and dry.
Exactly.
We're not. So you have the ability. And then I basically tell them the truth at that point, where not many people, we wish more people were taking advantage of the video chat support that we offer, because we don't get a lot.
Yeah.
And then we have to give people a reality check when they're like, well, I don't feel I'm getting my money's worth. Well, are you utilizing all the tools that we're giving you?
Right.
You have to be.
But does that even really happen for you guys? Like, do you get people from, very rarely, I would assume, that people are like, we're not really getting our money's worth, right?
We've gotten like one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's usually in the first, it's usually in the evaluation that we get the objection of the, I want to think about it. Yeah. And that's where most dog trainers, her included, would go, okay, no problem. Get back
call
to
me when you call me when you know, that type of thing.
And
right?
then I'm here thinking, well, see you later. We're never going to talk to them again. Yeah. They're not going to get back to us. I'll think about it is 90% of the time a no. Yeah. So what I have had to force myself to get good at, which I didn't get good at until recently, and you actually helped me with that, is the objections, where it's like, okay, why do you need to think about it? Let's look at this. Yeah. And I mean, obviously I don't word it like that. I don't say like, well, why do you need to think about it? Yeah. I have to do that. Well, I have to word it like, just so I have a better understanding of what you guys are thinking right now. why did you arrive, or how did you arrive to that conclusion that you need some more time to think about it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, is it a money issue? Is it a value issue? And then we can go, and they can, if they follow along, then I can get the actual objection out of what they're saying. I can sift through it and I can isolate it. And you have to be good at isolating that objection, and you have to be good at getting past it.
Yeah. And you know, real quick, I just want to touch on this. You're so right, because when you say that to people, you handle that objection, you say to them, you know, basically, what is it that you need to think about? Now the conversation has started. Before, it was just this like overarching theme of like, I need to think about it. It's basically them trying to say like, just, you know, give me some time, right? But what we know is that most times you're never going to hear from them again. But now if you can get them to narrow it down and really go, it's the money. Right now, you have an opportunity to discuss that money head on and talk about why it costs what it costs, the value, and you could offer a payment plan. Does that help you get across the finish line? You know, if you want to do that, there's so many different things you can do with that. But if you don't know specifically what they need to think about, you're never going to be able to address it, you know, head on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, you've become really, really good at handling that. And I got to say, like, the fact of the matter is you guys have also become good, it sounds like, at pre-qualifying people on the phone, right? So you don't just go and take a consultation with everybody. And that also helps with your conversion rates. And that also, when your conversion rates go up like that, it just gives you like more wins. And then you go in more confident. You know what I mean? Because if you need to, like, if you have a 30% conversion rate and you're hearing 7 no's or something like that before you get a yes, it can be difficult, right? So now that you don't need to worry about that and you're like hearing all these yeses, but that comes with time and learning the clients that you actually want to do evals with, right? You're not going to know that day one. It comes from getting out there and meeting with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Google Ads does one thing and one thing only. It amplifies your current outcome.
Yep.
So if your outcome is, I can't close a thing, then you're going to be closing a lot less. And your conversion rate is going to be even worse because you're going to get more people to try and close.
Yep. It's perfectly said.
It just amplifies. If you're already winning, if you're already closing, you're just going to be closing a lot more people. If you're not closing, you're not going to be closing a lot more people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You guys complement each other. That's why that program that Jason took, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name. The program that Jason took, it really helped to amplify how he could close and how he could, you know, get a client on board. And then you came into it and you just added to that a lot more volume for him to be able to close.
Yeah, it's compounding, right? It's everything that you learn in your life has tons of value. And then finally you get something that like clicks with you. And I think it's worth doing all of it. Like if you can build a good organic presence on Facebook, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Like I just say like, this can be like just on top of what you're doing. The thing is, what I've seen with people is the reason that a lot of people love Google Ads or paid advertising is because it doesn't require your time and your like energy to go in and put just to get that client. Like you don't need to put in the hours. So you're not trading your time for money. You're just trading money for more money. Right.
Yeah. And that's so much easier than doing the Facebook post.
Right.
Just hand it over to you and say, this is what we need. This is how you're going to hopefully get us these leads, and you just know how to target them. And we found out that the pot was a lot more full in this state for people of what we wanted and what we needed from them than I thought.
Right. Exactly.
Change our beliefs because of the fact that, I mean, anyone can say that they're a Google Ads manager and then they do just that, and then they call maybe once a month to see how things are going.
Right.
You give us TLC.
Right.
You give us more attention than we think is worth paying. So
good. Yeah.
It is. It's about the little things when I would call and be like, could we see an itemized list because it's not showing up in QuickBooks, and then you help me find a solution to it.
Right.
Or when you made a custom spreadsheet for us to list all the leads, or when you gave us the link to listen to our recordings from inbound calls. Like, not everyone can do that. Not everyone does that, right? I've seen a lot of people go, well, it's $2,000 a month for my services plus ads, and you're getting this, and that's it.
Yeah, don't talk to me.
But you actually take the time, you actually want us to grow, right? Because then, I mean, it benefits everyone. It benefits us, especially, and then it also benefits you because we keep you as
100%.
Partner. So there's nothing wrong with someone doing something because they know it's going to benefit them as long as it benefits the person that they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
I like the value that you add.
There's a lot of value.
Good.
And you, like I said, you also helped me with the objection side because throughout my entire life, I never wanted waves. If someone told me no, no means no. Right? Like, consent is sexy. But,
I know. That's how we're programmed. It's like somebody tells you no, and you're like, okay, I'm going to respect that. I'm going to walk away. Right? Doesn't need to be like that when it comes to sales.
No.
Yeah.
No, because everyone has the idea that anytime they're trying to be sold, that someone's trying to take advantage of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just need to know that that's straight up not the case.
Yep.
I tell people straight up that our training for life program, which is $4,000, we usually lose money on that. We get our money from our counted sessions, the 4, 6, and 8 sessions, for 1,000, 1,500, and 2,000 respectively. We are able to get a set amount of money, and then we part ways, and they can still text us if they need something. But after that, they're on their own unless they want to reinvest. But with Training for Life, we don't even count the sessions. Like, there are some that we make money on. There's some that we make $450 a session on because they take like 9 or 8 sessions and they're good. So then we just stay on the back burner and we haven't heard from them in 2 years.
Right.
But there are some that really do require lifetime care, and we're at session number 20 with them.
Right.
Like that. So we definitely need to look at it as we are getting them not just as a client, but we're getting them as a referral too.
Right, exactly.
So we're looking at the long game.
Yeah.
So it's the same way that, like, I read this like a month ago, how McDonald's doesn't make money on their burgers. They make money on the back end where it's you need the fries and the soda with it, and they charge out the ass for that.
Right? Yeah. Lifetime value. Lifetime value of customers. It's a huge thing. And
we get a lot of referrals from our Training for Life clients.
Good. Yeah, because it's so valuable to people. They love what they're getting from you guys, And I'm going to have to let you guys go here in a minute, but we'll definitely do this again because I think that there's so many things that we could still keep talking about. I feel like we could probably go for 4 or 5 hours, But so we'll definitely do this again. But the last thing I wanted to say is, you guys have really carved out a niche here. And, it's interesting because, like, Ashley, we're of the school of thought, which a lot of dog trainers were, which is like, you need to do board and trains. You need to do board and trains or you're not going to make money. And as long as you can do privates and charge your worth for them, you can be very, very profitable. And you don't have to have a dog with you 24/7.
Right.
And
it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, exactly.
We're so much less liable for anything.
Yes, and we're so much less feeling like, oh my God, we have to take care of someone's dog, you know, and we put it all on the owner. They have to be the front line. We're just the one giving them the help on the sidelines, and what will be will be. And it just makes things so much easier for us.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, yeah. So let's wrap it up here, guys. And like I said, we'll definitely do this again. And, I just wanted to say how grateful I am for you guys, taking the leap of faith to come work with me. And I'm glad that it's all worked out. And I just think that this is just the beginning for you guys. I can't wait to see where this goes from here.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Have a good one.